A number of American presidents have over the years been greatly honored by having their portraits printed on the American dollars. Same has been happening in Africa. So in this video, we'll take a look at African countries that had or has the most presidents and prime ministers printed on their money. At number 1 is Liberia. Just like the United States of America, Liberia has featured around 5 of its presidents on its currency, and first is Joseph Jenkins Roberts, whose portrait appears on the 10 Liberian dollars. Joseph Jenkins Roberts, who was born in 1809 and died in 1876, was elected as the first president of Liberia from 1848 to 1856, and again as the 7th president of Liberia from 1872 to 1876. Born free in Virginia, USA, Roberts, who was a young merchant, immigrated with his family to Liberia in 1829, where he became a politician. He opened a trading firm in Monrovia and later engaged in politics. He first served as governor from 1841 to 1848, before becoming the first man of African descent to rule the country. Next is Edward James Roy, whose image appears on the 5 Liberian dollars. Born in 1815 and died in 1872, Edward James Roy, who was a former Chief Justice in Liberia, served as the 5th president of Liberia from 1870 to his overthrow in 1871. On the 20 Liberian dollars is the image of Williams V.S. Tubman, who was the 19th president of Liberia. Born in 1895 and died in 1971, Tubman became the longest-serving president in Liberia's history after being in power from 1944 until his death in 1971. On the 100 Liberian dollars is the portrait of Liberia's 20th president, William Richard Tolbert Jr. Born in 1913 and died in 1980, Tolbert was in power from 1971 until 1980, when he was killed in a coup d'etat led by Samuel Doe. Finally is Samuel Kayon Doe, whose image is on the 50 Liberian dollars. Born in 1951 and died in 1990, Samuel Kayon Doe served as the 21st president of Liberia from 1980 to 1990. Doe, who came to power via the 1980 coup that overthrew President William Tolbert, was also booted out of power in similar circumstances in 1990. At number 2 is Botswana. On the Botswana puller is the portrait of Sir Seretse Khama. Born in 1921 and died in 1980, Seretse Khama was the first president of Botswana. He was in office from 1966 to 1980. Khama, who married a British woman, led his country's independence movement. Next is Ketumile Masire, who was featured prominently in the nation's currencies. Born in 1926 and died in 2017, Masire was the second and longest-serving president of Botswana. He was in office from 1980 to 1998. He was a leading figure in the country's independence movement. He stepped down in 1998 and was succeeded by Vice President Festus Mogae, who became the 3rd president of Botswana. Festus Mogae, who came into power after Ketumile Masire, also had his portrait on the country's puller. Born in 1939, the politician and economist served as the 3rd president of Botswana from 1998 to 2008. After 10 years in office, he stepped down in 2008 and was succeeded by Lieutenant General Seretse Khama. Seretse Khama is the 2nd child of Sir Seretse Khama and 4th President of the Republic of Botswana, who served from the 1st of April 2008 to 1st April 2018. The Botswana politician and former military officer who was born in 1953 also had his portrait on the Botswana puller. Finally is President Eric Masisi, who also featured on the Botswana puller. Born in 1961, Masisi is the 5th president of Botswana, serving since 2018. He served as the 8th vice president of Botswana from 12th November 2014 to 1st April 2018. At number 3 is Nigeria. On Nigeria's 500 naira note is the portrait of Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, first president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Nnamdi Azikiwe was born in 1904 and died in 1996. He served as Nigeria's president from 1963 to 1966. He was a driving force behind Nigeria's independence. At the time Azikiwe was Nigeria's president, Alhaji Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa was the nation's prime minister. His portrait adorns Nigeria's 5 naira note. Tafawa Balewa was born in December 1912 and was in office from September 1957 to when he was assassinated on the 15th of January 1966. On Nigeria's 20 naira banknote is the image of General Murtala Mohammed, who served as the 3rd military head of state of Nigeria. Born in 1938, he was assassinated in a failed coup d'etat on the 13th of February 1976. Murtala, who also came into power via a coup, is seen as a hero whose reign over Nigeria saw a period of rampant economic prosperity. At number 4 is Tunisia. On the nation's 20 dinars is the image of Heredin Pasha, who was born in 1820 and died in 1890. The Ottoman Tunisian statesman and reformer served as the first prime minister of the Kingdom of Tunis, now Republic of Tunisia. He later achieved the high post of Grand Vizier of the Ottoman Empire, serving from 1878 to 1879. On the 50 Tunisian dinars is the image of Heidi Amara Noura, who served as the 2nd Prime Minister of Tunisia between 1970 and 1980. The Tunisian politician, who was appointed governor of the Central Bank of Tunisia in 1958, was born in 1911 and died in 1993. From 1958 to 1986, Habib Bourguiba, who was born in 1903 and died in 2000, was featured prominently across a number of Tunisian banknotes. Bourguiba was a Tunisian lawyer and nationalist leader who led the country from 1956 to 1957 as a prime minister, then as a first president of Tunisia from 1957 to 1987. Prior to his presidency, Bourguiba led his nation to independence from France in 1956. The Tunisian monarchy was abolished in 1957 and Bourguiba became president. Made president for life in 1975, he was removed from office in 1987 because of ill health. At number 5 is Tanzania. Julius Nyerere, the first president of Tanzania, was on all of Tanzania's banknotes from 1966 to 1986. 3 different portraits of Nyerere were featured in 4 different banknote families. Julius Nyerere was born in 1922 and died in 1999. He governed Tanganyika as Prime Minister from 1961 to 1962 and then as President from 1962 to 1964, after which he led Tanzania, which was a unification of Tanganyika and Zanzibar, as President from 1964 to 1985. Next in Tanzania is President Ali Hassan Mwinyi, who served as the 2nd President of Tanzania from 1985 to 1995. When Ali Hassan Mwinyi, who was born in 1925, took office in 1986, His portrait replaced that of Nyerere. In 1997, 2 years after Mwinyi ended his 10-year reign as president, the Bank of Tanzania issued notes that had no human images. Instead, giraffe's head replaced portraits of the presidents. At the turn of the millennium in 2000, the bank issued a new 1,000 shilling note that featured Nyerere. At number 6 comes Ghana. The Ghanaian 2 cedis bear the portrait of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, first Prime Minister and President of Ghana. Born in 1909 and died in 1972, Kwame Nkrumah led the country to independence from Britain in 1957. On other Ghanaian currencies is the picture of the Big Six, who are founding fathers and champions of Ghana's independence. They include Kwame Nkrumah himself, Ebenezer Akwaje, Joseph Boakai Dankwa, Emmanuel Obisebi Lamte, William Ufori-Atta, and Edward Akufo-Addo. Interestingly, Edward Akufo-Addo, who was born in 1906 and died in 1979, also served as a ceremonial president in Ghana from 1970 to 1972. It is worthy of note that Edward Akufo-Addo was the father of Nana Akufo-Addo, who is the current president of Ghana. At number 7 comes Angola. If you visit Angola, the dominant images you will see across their currencies is that of Antonio Augusto Neto, who served as the first president of Angola from 1975 to 1979. Born in 1922 and died in 1979, the Angolan politician and poet led the popular movement for the liberation of Angola (MPLA) in the War for Independence between 1961 and 1974. His birthday is celebrated as a public holiday in Angola and is called National Heroes Day. However, there are a few Angolan banknotes where his image appears alongside that of José Eduardo dos Santos. Eduardo dos Santos, born in 1942 and died in 2022, served as president of Angola from 1979 to 2017. At number 8 is Kenya. Early in the history of Kenya, Jomo Kenyatta was featured prominently in the nation's currencies. Born in 1897 and died in 1978, Jomo Kenyatta, an anti-colonial activist and politician, governed Kenya as its prime minister from 1963 to 1964, and then as its first president from 1964 to his death in 1978. Kenyatta's son Uhuru later became the 4th president of Kenya, serving from 2013 to 2022. Although changes have been made to the country's banknotes, but it still retains the image of Jomo Kenyatta. Another president who had his image on what is now old Kenya shillings was Daniel Arap Moi, who served as the 2nd president of Kenya from 1978 to 2002. Born in 1924 and died in 2020, Arap Moi is said to be the country's longest-serving president to date. Moi previously served as the 3rd vice president of Kenya from 1967 to 1978 under President Jomo Kenyatta before becoming the president following the latter's death. At number 9 is South Africa. Considering how significant Nelson Mandela was globally while alive, it's not shocking to find his image across all of South Africa's land. Born in 1918 and died in 2013, the South African anti-apartheid activist and politician served as the first president of South Africa from 1994 to 1999. Before his victory, Mandela served 27 years in prison, but following growing domestic and international pressure and fears of racial civil war, he was released in 1990. At number 10 is Burundi. On the nation's banknote are the portrait of Prince Wangasore and President Michael Ndadaye. Our focus is on Ndadaye, who was the first democratically elected president of Burundi after winning a landmark election in 1993. Born in 1953 and died in 1993, Ndadaye was assassinated amidst a failed military coup in October 1993 after only 3 months in office. His assassination led to a decade-long Burundi civil war. At number 11 is Malawi. In Malawi, their first president, Hastings Kamuzubanda, was honored with his image on their money. Born in 1898 and died in 1997, Banda was the Prime Minister and later President of Malawi from 1964 to 1994. He led the country to independence in 1964. 2 years later, he proclaimed Malawi a republic with himself as the first president. He died in South Africa in 1997. At number 12 is Djibouti. Just like Malawi, Djibouti also honored its first president, Hassan Abtidon, with his image on their currency. Born in 1916 and died in 2006, Abtidon was the first president of Djibouti from 1977 to 1999. He played an important role in Djibouti's struggle for independence from France. At number 13 is Mozambique. On all Mozambican currencies is the portrait of Samora Machel, who served as the first president of Mozambique after the country's independence in 1975. Born in 1933 and died in 1986, Machel was a Mozambican military commander and political leader who died in office in 1986 when his presidential aircraft crashed near the Mozambican-South African border. At number 14 is Namibia. Across Namibia's currency is the image of Samuel Daniel Nujoma, the first president of Namibia who served 3 terms from 1990 to 2005. Born in 1929, the anti-apartheid activist and politician played an important role in the campaign for Namibia's political independence from South African rule. At number 15 is Zambia. Until 1991, all Zambian kwacha featured a portrait of President Kenneth Kaunda. After 1992, all that changed. Before 1992, Kenneth Kaunda was granted that honor as the first president of Zambia who served from 1964 to 1991. He was at the forefront of the struggle for independence from British rule. Born in 1924 and died in 2021, Kaunda was ousted from power in 1991 by Frederick Chiluba following the introduction of multi-party system by the country. At number 16 is Congo DRC. Patrice Lumumba, the Congolese politician and independence leader who served as the first Prime Minister of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, has his image with his comrades after his capture printed on his country's 1 franc currency. The Congolese Pan-Africanist, who was executed under a Mobutu conspiracy in 1961, was born in 1925. Lumumba played a significant role in the transformation of the Congo from a colony of Belgium into an independent republic. It is worthy of note that with Lumumba out of the way and military leader Mobutu Sese Seko in power, Mobutu changed the country's name to Zaire from 1971 to 1997 and adopted a new currency that had his images printed on them. However, following the takeover of power by a new government, the country was renamed the Democratic Republic of the Congo. This automatically brought to an end the Zaire currency that had the picture of Mobutu Sese Seko. At number 17 is Gambia. On the Gambian dollars were the images of Professor Alhaji Dr. Yahaya Abdul Aziz James Jonkun Jammeh. Born on the 25th of May 1965, the Gambian politician and former military officer who was the leader of the Gambia from 1994 to 2017 came into power in July 1994 after he led a bloodless coup that overthrew the government of Sir Dawda Jawara. He would subsequently rule as a military man until his election as president in 1996. Jammeh was re-elected as president in 2001, 2006 and 2011, but lost in 2016 to Adama Barrow, who subsequently removed Jammeh's portrait from the Gambia dollars. At number 18 is Libya. Just like the Gambian dollars, the Libyan dinar had the image of Muammar Gaddafi, but they were subsequently removed when a new government came into power in 2011. Born in 1942 and died in 2011, Gaddafi dominated Libya's politics for 4 decades and was decorated with various awards and honors, including having his image on a couple of Libyan currencies from 1969 to 2011. Gaddafi is said to have deposed the monarchy of Idris in a 1969 coup and installed himself as the country's leader. Ironically, he too would experience a similar fate when in 2011 an uprising in Libya led to his death. His government and virtually everything that had his image on it were subsequently pulled down. Just for the records, just like the British pound that has image of the Queen, King Swati III of Eswatini has his portrait on his country's currency. Same is the case with King Mohammed VI of Morocco. His royal portrait can be seen on his country's currencies. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe before leaving.